My fiancé accidentally sent me a late-night audio message meant for his sister, confessing that I was just the safe choice he was settling for and that he still longed for his ex. Within hours, my entire 3-year engagement unraveled, and I walked away from the wedding we had planned for months. My partner inadvertently sent an audio message intended for his sister, and the revelations about myself compelled my departure the following morning. At 29, I ended my 3-year engagement to Ethan, 32, last week after hearing a voice recording he mistakenly sent to me instead of a sibling. I am penning this from my best friend's spare room, amidst hurriedly packed luggage, attempting to comprehend how my entire world unraveled in just one day. Ethan and I crossed paths through mutual acquaintances at a housewarming gathering. He was engaging, sharp-witted, and an instant bond formed over our shared passion for hiking and independent cinema. Our relationship advanced swiftly. We cohabited within a year, then became engaged on our second milestone. Our nuptials were slated for next spring. The venue was secured, save the dates were ordered, and our bridal party selected. I had plans to try on gowns with my mother the following weekend. I perceived no warning signs, or at least, none I consciously acknowledged. Disagreements arose sometimes, as they do for any pair, yet nothing significant. He had a good rapport with my relatives and I with his, particularly his younger sister, Megan, whom I truly saw as a confidant. We discussed starting a family, acquired furnishings, and outlined future trips. It all appeared flawless. Last Wednesday night, I was working late at the medical center. I am a pediatric nurse. Ethan messaged that he was having dinner with Megan to talk over some wedding specifics. I gave it no thought. They are close, and Megan was my maid of honor. Exhausted after my shift, I fell asleep almost immediately upon arriving home around midnight. Ethan hadn't returned yet, but that was not uncommon when he was out with friends or relatives. The next morning, I awoke to my phone buzzing with an alert. Ethan had sent me a voice memo at 1:23 a.m. I presumed he had recorded a sweet goodnight message when he came home and saw I was asleep. He sometimes did that, little audio notes expressing his affection or recalling private jokes. I smiled as I pressed play, still heavy with sleep. What I heard altered everything. Hey mess, just driving home now. Gosh, dinner was exactly what I needed. I have been feeling so restricted lately. Sarah is just I do not know. Not who I thought she was when we began dating. My heart seized. He continued, his speech slightly indistinct. He had clearly been drinking. The closer we get to the ceremony, the more I realize I am merely compromising. She is fine, dependable. She will be a good mother. But there is no excitement anymore. Nothing like what I experienced with Kristen. Kristen, his former partner from before we met, the one he claimed was distant history. Sometimes I wonder if I proposed because it seemed like the logical next step, not because I am profoundly in love. Do not misunderstand. I care for her. But marriage forever? I do not know, Max. When I see you and Daniel together, that spark you two possess even after 5 years. Sarah and I do not have that. Perhaps we never did. I just feign it most of the time. I felt as if I were submerged underwater, sounds warped, my vision blurring with tears. But what am I supposed to do now? Everything is arranged. Everyone is anticipating it. Mom and Dad adore her. Your children adore her. It would devastate her if I withdrew. And then what? Begin again at 32? Perhaps this is as good as it gets. Maybe the issue is me expecting some fairy tale. Anyway, I am almost home. Do not tell Daniel I said any of this. Love you, sis. The recording concluded. I remained motionless in bed, my phone clutched in my trembling hand. I played it again, hoping I had misheard, hoping this was some cruel jest. But there was no mistaking his voice, his statements, the distinct disappointment he felt when contemplating a life with me. I was merely fine, dependable, someone he was settling for. I checked my phone again and saw a text from Ethan sent a minute after the voice memo. Wrong person. Disregard that. It was intended for Megan. I am exhausted and confuse the contacts. Then another text. Sarah, are you awake? Please call me. And another. Baby, I am so sorry. I was intoxicated and merely venting. None of that was real. Please call me before you listen to it. But it was too late. I had already absorbed every word. My hands shook so severely I could barely hold my phone. My throat tightened as if I might choke on the rising sense of betrayal. 3 years of recollections flashed through my mind. All those instances, I believed we were blissfully devoted. All those times he gazed into my eyes and pledged eternity. Had he been pretending even then? I slipped out of bed and made my way to the bathroom on unsteady legs. The woman in the mirror looked like a stranger. A pale face, red-rimmed eyes, a bewildered expression that seemed to ask, how did I not know? I splashed cold water on my face, attempting to shock myself into some clarity, but my thoughts remained a chaotic whirlwind of anguish and perplexity. I heard his key in the door downstairs. My heart rate instantly doubled. I could not confront him. Not yet. Not when I felt as though my chest had been cracked open and everything inside scooped out. I locked the bedroom door, deactivated my phone, and wept silently as he knocked, calling my name with escalating desperation. Sarah, please.
It was not what it sounded like.
Please open the door. Let me explain. Explain what? That he did not love me. That I was his contingency plan, his safety net, merely good enough. I was drunk, baby. I did not mean any of it.
Please talk to me.
His voice faltered on the last word, and for a moment I nearly gave in. Almost. But then I recalled. I just feign it most of the time. How could I ever look at him again, without questioning if he was pretending? How could I ever trust a single "I love you" after knowing he had been comparing me to Kristen all this time? Sarah, I am going to sleep on the couch. We can talk in the morning when you have had time to process. I love you. I am so sorry. I heard his footsteps retreat down the hallway, the soft thud of his body dropping onto our living room couch. Eventually, his breathing evened out into sleep while I remained awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying his words repeatedly. I must have dozed off eventually, because I woke to sunlight streaming through the curtains. For one blissful second, everything was normal. Then the memory of the voice memo crashed back, and the pain felt fresh all over again. I could hear Ethan moving around downstairs, the coffee maker running, cabinet doors opening and closing. He was waiting for me to come down, prepared with his explanations and excuses. But what could he possibly say to undo what I had heard? How could any explanation make it acceptable that he viewed our relationship as settling for something as good as it gets, rather than the love story I thought we were living? I waited until he left for work the next morning. Then I packed what I could carry, called my best friend, Emma, to ask if I could stay with her, and walked out the door. I left my engagement ring on the kitchen counter with a note that simply stated, "I deserve someone who does not have to fake it most of the time. Goodbye, Ethan." It has been 3 days since I departed Ethan's house, and my entire reality has splintered into a before and after. Before, I was orchestrating my wedding to a man I believed loved me completely. After, I am sleeping on my best friend's pull-out sofa, disregarding countless texts and calls, and attempting to define who Sarah is outside of the relationship I thought would shape my future. The first day, Ethan called incessantly. His texts began desperate, then angry, then pleading again. "Please come home. We need to discuss this. You are overreacting. It was just drunk talk. Guys say stupid things all the time. This is not fair. You will not even let me explain. I love you. I have always loved you. Please do not discard everything we built over one error." But it was not just one error, was it? It was a glimpse into his authentic sentiments, feelings he shared with his sister, but never with me. How many dinners had they had where I was the topic of conversation? How many times had he complained about settling for me? Emma has been my unwavering support through all of this. When I arrived at her door with swollen eyes and 2 hastily packed suitcases, she did not inquire, just pulled me into a fierce embrace and whispered, "Whatever it is, we will navigate it together." Later, after I had played her the voice memo, she held my hand across her kitchen table and articulated what I could not yet concede to myself. "This is a hidden blessing, Sarah. Better to know now than 5 years and 2 children into a marriage." I've been attempting to process everything in waves. One moment I am incensed. How dare he deprive me of the future I believed we were constructing together? The next I am devastated, lamenting the loss of the man I thought I knew. Occasionally, treacherously, I wonder if I am overreacting. Perhaps it truly was just drunken nonsense. Maybe everyone experiences moments of doubt before marrying. But then I remember his casual tone, the way he sounded more resigned than conflicted. "She is fine, dependable." As if I were a practical car choice, not the love of his life. And the comparison to Kristen, that wounds the most profoundly. For 3 years, whenever she arose in conversation, he dismissed their relationship as intense but immature. Now I know he has been measuring me against her all along and finding me wanting. My phone vibrated again yesterday afternoon. Megan this time. I almost did not answer, but curiosity prevailed. "Sarah, please talk to me." Ethan is distraught. He made a terrible mistake. "The mistake was sending the memo to me instead of you," I replied. "Not how he actually feels." "It is not that simple," she wrote back. "He was stressed and drunk and just spiraling. He does not mean any of it. Did you know? All this time, did you know he felt this way about me?" There was a long pause before her response came through. "He has never talked like that before." I was shocked, too. "I think he is just panicking about the wedding." I wanted to believe her. Part of me still does, but then I remember his voice, so casual, so honest. "I just feign it most of the time." How can you recover from hearing something like that? Last night, I finally contacted my mom. I had been avoiding it, knowing that once I told her, this would all become more tangible, more conclusive. She listened quietly as I explained, interrupted only by occasional shocked gasps. When I finished, the silence stretched between us for so long, I thought we had been disconnected. "Mom, are you still there?" "I am here, sweetheart," she finally said, her voice thick with emotion. "I am just processing. I always thought Ethan was one of the good ones." "So did I whispered, tears starting again. "What do you need right now? Do you want to come home for a while?" Home? My childhood bedroom with its faded posters and twin bed. The thought was tempting, to retreat to a time before adult heartbreak, before I tied my future to someone who saw me as merely adequate. "I do not know yet," I admitted. "I need to figure some things out first. Whatever you decide, I support you. And Sarah, this does not reflect on you. This is about him, not you." "But is it?" That is the question keeping me awake at night. Was there something I overlooked? Some indication that Ethan was unhappy? Did I disregard warning signs because I was so enamored with the idea of our life together? I have been replaying our entire relationship in my head, searching for moments where the mask slipped, where his pretense might have been apparent if I had been paying attention. Our intimacy had diminished a bit over the past year. Was that because he was no longer attracted to me? He had been working late more often. Was he avoiding coming home to me? Last month, when I suggested we start trying for a baby after the wedding, he had seemed hesitant. Was that because he did not want to be tied to me forever? Or am I just torturing myself, reinterpreting our history through the lens of his betrayal? This morning, Ethan appeared at Emma's door with coffee and my favorite pastries from the local bakery. Emma intercepted him on the porch. "She's not ready to see you," I heard her say through the window. "I just need 5 minutes," he pleaded. "I need to explain." "Explain what exactly?" Emma's voice was frigid. "I heard the recording, Ethan. We all did." "It was not real," he insisted. "I was drunk and talking. Guys do that. It does not mean anything." "If it did not mean anything, why say it at all, to your sister of all people?" He had no response for that. After he left, Emma came inside, sat beside me on the couch, and took my hand. "What do you want to do about the wedding?" she asked gently. "The wedding? Goodness, I had not even considered the practical aspects of all this. The deposits we would lose. The guests we would need to inform. The dress I would never wear. "I guess I have to cancel everything," I said, the reality of it landing like a physical blow. "You do not have to do anything today," Emma assured me. "And you do not have to do it alone." She is right, of course. But there is a part of me that cannot help feeling like I am living in some cruel alternate reality. A week ago, I was excitedly comparing bridesmaid dress swatches and finalizing our honeymoon plans. Now, I am hiding out at my friend's apartment trying to figure out how to untangle 3 years of shared life, shared friends, shared dreams. Do I fight for us? Could we recover from this? Or would I spend the rest of my life wondering if he is pretending every time he tells me he loves me? Tonight, I finally reactivated my phone and texted Ethan. "I need time to reflect. Please respect that and give me space. I will reach out when I am prepared to speak." His response was immediate. "I love you. I will wait as long as it takes." But the words that once would have comforted me now ring hollow, because I know what he says when he thinks I am not listening, and I can never unhear it. Update. 2 weeks later. It has been 15 days since I heard the voice memo that shattered my world. 15 days of staying with Emma, ignoring Ethan's increasingly desperate attempts to contact me, and trying to rebuild some sense of self outside of being Ethan's fiancé. Yesterday, I finally consented to meet him. Not because I had forgiven him, but because I needed resolution. We met at a neutral location, a downtown coffee shop where neither of us were regulars. I arrived first, deliberately choosing a table in the corner with clear sight lines to the exit, an escape route just in case. When Ethan walked in, my heart lurched traitorously in my chest. He looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, clothes wrinkled as if he had slept in them. For a moment, I felt a flicker of sympathy. Then I remembered his words. "I just feign it most of the time." He sat across from me, hands wrapped around his coffee cup like he needed the warmth. Neither of us spoke for a long moment. "Thank you for meeting me," he finally said. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak yet. "Sarah, what you heard, it was not real. I was drunk and stressed, and just venting to Megan. Everyone does that sometimes. Venting about traffic is normal, Ethan. Venting about your job is normal. Telling your sister that you are settling for your fiancé, that you are just marrying me because I will be a good mom, that is not normal." He flinched. "I did not mean any of it." "Then why say it at all? Drunk words are sober thoughts. Is that not what they say?" "It is not that simple," he insisted, leaning forward. "I love you. I have always loved you. But you are not in love with me," I said quietly. "There is a difference." "That is not true, is it? You compared us to your sister and her husband said, we do not have that spark." said, "You are basically settling because starting over seems too hard." He ran his hands through his hair, a gesture so familiar it hurt to watch. I was having a moment of cold feet. Everyone does before getting married. It does not mean I do not want to marry you. But should you? Should I marry someone who has to convince himself that this is as good as it gets? The question hung between us, heavy with implication. Ethan looked down at the table. "I am sorry," he whispered. "I never meant to hurt you." "But you did," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "And worse than the hurt is knowing I would never have found out if you had not accidentally sent me that memo. We would have gotten married, had kids, built a life, all while you were secretly feeling trapped." "It would not have been like that," he insisted. "How do you know? You said yourself that you have been feeling this way for a while. That I am not who you thought I was. What does that even mean, Ethan? When did I change? Or did you just stop seeing me clearly?"
He could not answer that.
He just kept saying he was sorry, that he would do anything to fix this, that we could go to couples therapy, postpone the wedding, whatever I needed. But what I needed was honesty. So I asked the question that had been haunting me. "Do you still think about Kristen?" His hesitation was answer enough. "I do not compare you to her," he said finally. "That is not fair. But you did. In the memo, you said we do not have what you had with her." "It was different with her. Not better, just different." "Different how?" He squirmed in his seat. "More volatile, I guess. Higher highs, lower lows. With you, everything is steady. Reliable." There was that word again. Reliable. Like I was a Toyota Camry. Dependable, but unexciting. "I like that steadiness," he added quickly, seeing my expression. "It is good. It is what I want long term." But it was not what he dreamed of, was it? I was the sensible choice, the safe option, the woman he was settling for, because starting over seemed too hard. I felt something shift inside me then, a final thread snapping, the last bit of hope dissolving. "I think we are done here," I said, standing up. "Sarah, please."
"No, Ethan."
"I deserve better than this. I deserve someone who is enthusiastic to marry me, not someone who has to talk himself into it." As I walked out of the coffee shop, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. The pain was still present, but something else was growing alongside it, a sense of self-worth I had not realized I had been compromising. When I returned to Emma's, I found a large envelope waiting for me. Inside was a letter from Megan. My heart pounded as I opened it, bracing for more defense of her brother, more attempts to diminish what he had said. Instead, I found an apology. "Sarah, I am so sorry. What Ethan said was inexcusable, and I should have challenged him on it that night instead of just listening. The truth is he has been struggling with commitment anxiety ever since our parents' messy divorce last year. That does not excuse what he said about you, but I thought you should know there is context I did not share with you. Their parents' divorce. Ethan had mentioned they were separating, but he brushed it off as amicable and a long time coming. He never said it was affecting him deeply. Another thing he had kept from me while confiding in his sister." The letter continued, "I also want you to know that in the 3 years you have been together, that dinner was the only time he ever expressed doubts. Usually, he talks about how fortunate he is to have found you. I think he got scared and convinced himself he was somehow repeating our parents' mistakes." Again, not an excuse, just context. I folded the letter carefully and put it back in the envelope. It did not change anything, not truly, but it helped me understand that Ethan's issues were not a reflection of my worth. They were his own struggles to battle. Today, I signed a lease on a small apartment near the hospital. It is tiny and the kitchen needs updating, but it is mine. A new beginning. I have also begun the painful process of canceling wedding arrangements. Each call feels like ripping off another bandage, but also like reclaiming pieces of myself. My dress appointment canceled, the venue deposit forfeited, the flowers rerouted to a local nursing home. This is not the ending I envisioned for us, but perhaps it is the beginning I needed for myself. Update, 3 months later. It is peculiar how life can simultaneously move both too swiftly and too sluggishly after a major upheaval. These past 3 months have been a blur of establishing routines in my new apartment, dedicating myself to work, and trying to rediscover who Sarah is when she is not defined by her relationship with Ethan. I received a promotion at the hospital last month, pediatric nursing coordinator, a position I had been aspiring to for years, but somehow always found reasons to postpone pursuing. The wedding planning takes so much time, I told myself. We might start trying for a baby soon after. It is humbling to realize how much I had subconsciously limited my own ambitions to fit around a future that was never as solid as I believed. The first month in my apartment was the most challenging. I would wake up reaching for Ethan, momentarily confused by the unfamiliar surroundings. The silence was deafening after years of sharing space. No one else breathing, no coffee maker running downstairs, no gentle disagreements about whose turn it was to walk the dog. Ethan kept Bruno, our golden retriever. It made sense. The house has a yard, and I work longer hours. But I miss that dog almost as much as I miss Ethan some days. Speaking of Ethan, we have established a fragile sort of truce. After one final 4-hour conversation where we both articulated things that had needed saying for years, we agreed to a complete break. No friendship, no casual check-ins, no social media connections. It was too painful, too fraught with what-ifs and might-have-beens. In another life, we could have been happy, he said as we parted. I truly do love you, Sarah. I know, I replied. Just not enough, or not in the right way. He did not argue, which told me everything. Megan reached out a few weeks after that, asking if we could still be friends despite everything. I appreciated the gesture, but it felt impossible. She would always be his sister first, and every conversation would be a minefield of avoided topics. Some relationships are collateral damage and breakups, and this was one of them. My mom visits every other weekend, bringing home-cooked meals and helping me slowly transform the apartment into a home. She never says, "I told you so," even though she had expressed gentle concerns about how quickly Ethan and I moved in together, how young we were when we got engaged. Instead, she helps me hang artwork and suggests paint colors and reminds me that heartbreak, like everything else, is temporary. Last week, I encountered Kristen, Ethan's ex, the one he compared me to in that fateful voice memo. It was at a local brewery where my nursing school friends and I were celebrating a colleague's birthday. I recognized her immediately from old photos Ethan had never quite gotten around to removing from his Facebook. She was with a group of women, laughing loudly, her hair shorter than in the pictures, but her smile just as radiant. For a moment, I considered leaving. Then curiosity won out, and I approached her as she stood alone at the bar waiting for drinks. This is going to sound peculiar, I said, but I am Sarah. I was engaged to Ethan Walker. Her eyes widened in recognition. Oh my God, Sarah. I have heard so much about you. Then realizing how that sounded, all good things, I promise. An awkward silence fell between us. I was not sure what I had expected from this encounter. Validation that she was somehow less than me. Confirmation that she was indeed the exciting, passionate alternative to my steady reliability. Instead, I found myself faced with just another woman, one who had her own history with the man who broke my heart. I just wanted to say hello, I said awkwardly. This is strange. I should not have. No, it is fine, she said quickly. Actually, can I buy you a drink? I feel like we might have some interesting conversations. And so we did. For 2 hours, Kristen and I sat in a corner booth and compared notes on the man we both loved. She told me about their tumultuous relationship, how passionate but unstable it had been, how they had broken up and reunited 6 times in 3 years. He was always looking for something, she said, nursing her beer. Some perfect relationship that does not exist. With us, it was all drama and making up, intimacy and grand gestures. When it was good, it was incredible. When it was bad, well, it was a nightmare. With us, it was steady, I said. Reliable. I could not keep the bitter edge from my voice. She looked at me thoughtfully. You know, he used to talk about that with such admiration. How you were his anchor. How he had never felt so secure with anyone until he did not want security anymore. Or until he convinced himself he did not. She countered. Ethan has issues, Sarah. His parents' marriage was a disaster, and he grew up thinking relationships had to be full of passion and conflict to be real. Then he found something healthy and stable with you, and part of him could not trust it, could not believe it would last. It was strange receiving this insight from someone who had once been my subconscious rival. Stranger still to realize that what I perceived as my inadequacy, my steadiness, my reliability, had initially been what drew Ethan to me. For what it is worth, Kristen said as we parted ways, I think he made a huge mistake. And someday he will realize it. Tonight, as I write this from my tiny balcony, watching the sunset paint the city golden, I am struck by how differently I feel about that voice memo now. 3 months ago, it was a devastating betrayal. Proof that I was not enough. Now I see it for what it was. A moment of weakness from a man struggling with his own personal struggles, his own inability to recognize the value of what he had. I still have difficult days. Days when I miss our effortless companionship, our shared jokes, the future we had planned together. Days when I pass by wedding boutiques and feel a pang for what might have been. But those days are diminishing, the pain less sharp. If I could revert to that morning when I first heard Ethan's voice, saying those terrible things about me, I would not alter my response. Walking away was the correct decision. Not because Ethan is a bad person, but because we both deserve more than a marriage built on compromise and secret doubts. I do not know what unfolds next in my narrative. For the first time in years, my future is not outlined in joint decisions and concessions. It is simply mine, terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. But I do know this. I am more than just reliable, more than someone's backup plan or safe choice. I am complex and loving and ambitious and worthy of someone who never has to question whether choosing me was settling. And for now, that realization is sufficient to carry me forward, one day at a time, into whatever comes.